all my paranormal misfits, and welcome to the Paranormal Misfit podcast. I am your host, Chrissy, and I'm here to talk about all things paranormal and spooky. From experience that I or someone else has had, to the shows, movies, and books, to lores and legends, and to the places known for the paranormal. I'm going to talk about all of it. I myself am a believer with a healthy set of skepticism. You'll hear my thoughts and feelings about different topics revolving around the paranormal, so cozy up with your favorite beverage of choice and listen along. Hello again, on my Misfit Ghouls. It is Chrissy, your long awaited host of the Paranormal Misfit podcast. I've missed you all. I've had quite a busy start to this year. So, we're in March now. Let's see. Started classes up again to attain my nursing degree. I've been tasked with quite a few projects at work, which can be a headache. But at the same time, it's helping me grow. It's helping me learn things that I didn't expect to learn. A lot of it more of on a technology base, learning how to create apps and stuff, which is pretty exciting. And then there's been a lot of ups and downs, family wise, and then also a few ups and downs as far as like mental and physical health. But yeah, so not to bore you guys with that stuff. So I hope everyone has grabbed, their favorite drink, got a nice little cozy blanket, a nice little cozy spot, because I am ready to talk about um this I should say newer paranormal show that I, kind of binge watched a little bit. And I wanted to share it all with you, and hopefully, you guys check it out at some point. And just to shed a little bit of light, so I know I shouldn't say I'm not a big fan. So we've all, if you're on TikTok or if you're on Instagram or Twitter, but I'm not on Twitter because that was never my jam. But if you're on Instagram, which I am on, obviously, because I believe most of you follow this podcast from following me on Instagram, and then TikTok. So on TikTok, I want to say one of my favorite hosts from the podcast, the Unrefined Podcast, I believe his name is BJ, shared this little tidbit about Dakota Layden from Destination Fear, which is one of my very favorite shows here on Discovery Plus. Like, it's more what Ghost Adventures used to be, kind of. And we all know Dakota, worked with Zach Bagans for a while. He won like that little contest at one point when he was still like a teenager, where him and his dad got to go investigate the old Charleston jail in Charleston, South Carolina, I believe. And so yeah, there's a little bit of drama being leaked. He's leaking that his show is not getting picked up again, which is very sad. You're talking about like what, 4 seasons? They've been really great. They're one of my favorites. But then at the same time, there's a lot of drama. He drops this little nougat, if you will, this little golden tidbit everyone's been waiting on, because while there's drama within the paranormal community, you're expecting a lot of tea to be spilled, per se, right? So, Zach Bagans kind of monopolized, in a sense, the paranormal entertainment, if you will, for television. He's got tons of spin-offs. He was the executive producer for Destination Fear. Discovery Plus loves him. I mean, I turn on Discovery Plus and like it takes me forever to find like Ghost Brothers or something. Used to, I should say. But I pinned them to my favorites, so it doesn't take as long now. But yeah, so he monopolized a little bit on it. And Dakota drops that little nugget of, did Zach get us canceled? No. But are Zach and I friends? Well, and then he leaves it at that, right? And shares that at some point he'll be able to spill, like the tea, his story, his side of the story. And his sister Chelsea and Tanner and Alex, they're all on his side, and they have a huge fan base. And then I want to say a couple days later, Nick Groff drops his little tidbit about, you know, I'm going to share my story. And we've all been waiting now on like pins and fucking needles because, Nick left abruptly. I wouldn't say abruptly, but he left Ghost Adventures after he had been on there for seasons, right? And then he goes and he does a couple of his spin-offs. One of them was Katrina, didn't pan off very well at one point. Um, and then he has his one that you can catch on a different channel, which I have checked out. It's very good. I really like Nick. He's very he's very objective per se, not so much as subjective. Not everything's got to be evil, everything's got to be a demon, which, for me, kind of two and two together, I feel like that's why he left Ghost Adventures, because it was going down that route. But anyways, I digress. So anyways, I've been checking out the drama, see if anything's been dropped. Nothing's really been dropped, so I'm just gonna leave it there. But and part of this drama, Dakota Layden I, did he tweet an image, I believe, shows that were getting canceled. Oddly enough, they're all shows I fucking watch, and I'm kind of pissed off, Um, while I don't mind Ghost Adventures, I stopped watching them after a certain season because it just gets absolutely ridiculous. And I just got to move on, right? Not everything's a demon. Not everything is out to get you. Not everything's going to possess you. Paranormal locations can take. There's sometimes you go and you do them and you're not going to get a single fucking thing. And then there's sometimes where you go and you do it and you're like, oh my God, there's a ton. But, it's like a hit or miss. It's kind of like raising a toddler and they wake up from a nap, right? Will they wake up in a good mood? Will they wake up in a bad mood? Kind of like, it's a 50-50 chance. But, anyways, so back to what I plan on talking about tonight. So I watched this a while ago. Totally forgot I took notes on it. I'm gonna share it with you tonight. I in the background you probably hear Ghost Brothers, but later on tonight, maybe, haven't really decided yet. I'll probably binge watch it again. If I don't binge watch it tonight, it'll most likely be tomorrow while I'm resting before a nice busy work week starts up again next week. So, anyways, so the show is called Ghost Town Terror, and total huge junkie for these shows. Ghost Adventures, Ghost Brothers, Portals to Hell, Ghost Asylum. Absolutely love the shows. They entertain me. They you know keep my attention, and it's one of my favorite ways to unwind from a hard week, whether it's a work week, whether it's personal, it's family, it's whatever. It's a great way to unwind, right? And when I found the show on accident, which is funny because I really do go searching for new things, and sometimes I'm like in that category of the neuro spicy where I like to rewatch things because it gives me comfort, because I know what's going to happen, I know what to expect. But I found it and I was like, okay, let's give it a try. I've watched them all, let's just give it a try. And guys, this one had me, it had me pretty spooked, I'm not gonna lie. So you have paranormal investigators, Tim and Sapphire. Seems pretty basic. They travel to the small ass town area, if you will, called Gunslinger Gulch in Montana, which fucking Midwest. Um, it's a small small makeshift town owned by a woman and her children. It's like stepping back, literally stepping back into the old west, right? From like the 1800s. And what's crazy is this family got to buy this entire town. And with this entire town, the previous owner was buying different old buildings from other locations and moving them to this town. So they didn't know what they were moving into the town. On top of, there were original buildings from the town, but they were also moving. So you got a lot of a mixing and moving, a lot of, you know, is this going to work out? A lot of concoctions going on. So the family is basically terrified for their lives based on the different paranormal experiences that they experience, that they have, that they, on a daily fucking basis, right? And they've been there for 3 years at this point. Um, these buildings are really cool. They look absolutely amazing. I mean, you're literally stepping back into time, right? So they moved from Seattle, Washington to Anaconda. Anaconda don't want none. Okay, anyways. Anaconda, Montana. Absolutely gorgeous land. Nice and secluded. Beautiful scenery. See all the stars you can at night because, obviously limited light pollution, noise pollution, air pollution. So yeah. The show is only 6 episodes long. They keep you on the edge of your seats. So, anyways, Tim and Sapphire are contacted by the family and basically for help. So, Sapphire has her own podcast and is a paranormal researcher. Tim himself has, in fact, dealt with buying and dealing with a haunted location that obviously he has owned. All of the buildings have their different type of activity going on, but there are a few buildings that each member of the family um, share that have their own very scary experiences in. And those buildings happen to be you have a saloon, you have the log cabin, the church, and this once circular shaped building. Come to find out, when you learn about the saloon, it was previously owned by a family, and the granddaughter was allegedly killed by her husband, and pretty brutal too. So, their first night of investigation, as they're in the old church, there's an EVP capturing say stating, "I'm a demon." Go figure. You gotta capture your audience. You're already up against Ghost Adventures. Demons are gonna be what gets you going. Not to say it wasn't real, but we're going straight into the demon factor. But anyways, so as the show progresses, they bring on a psychic medium, Sarah, and then one of Tim's closest associates, Scott, to further assist with the investigations. Ooh, gotta take a swig, guys. Gotta take a swig. And tonight I decided, um, if you have it in your area, definitely give it a try. If you're an IPA person, that's not for everyone. I know it's kind of bitter, but Voodoo Ranger Juicy Haze IPA. So my husband was nice enough tonight to go up to Target because I'm absolutely a Target fanatic, or whatever you want to call it. And they always have the best, to me. They always have some of the best variety packs. And to me, Voodoo Ranger, I really do like Voodoo Ranger. Voodoo Ranger, Wicked Weed, Terrapin, Arrogant Bastard, great IPA variety packs. If you ever get a chance, you should try them out. Just saying, just saying. They're not your thing, they're not your jam. I understand. IPA is a little bitter. It's got a little bit of that aftertaste. Not everyone's always into that. I particularly really like sour things. A big debate in my in my house is that I grew up absolutely loving grapefruit. My husband thinks it tastes like cat piss. How he knows it tastes like cat piss, I don't know. I think it tastes wonderful, especially ruby red grapefruit. But anyways, so I'm getting off topic. I apologize. Let me take a swig real quick. Mm. Okay, sorry. A little bit of ASMR for you guys. so, um, so he brought in his close associate Scott and the psychic medium Sarah. The more research they do, the more they find out how intertwined this makeshift town is to the surrounding towns around them, right? So there's an old building that used to be a brothel where a murder of a woman in the 1800s potentially happened. And they find that each location is somehow intertwined back to the family's ghost town by the holes that they find in the basements of the buildings, basically. And as it's digressing, or as not digressing, as the season is progressing, as the episodes are going further and further, you see a little bit of a power pull, right? Because obviously great TV can't be without its drama. And the drama happens to be between Tim, the investigator, one of the lead investigators, and then Sarah, the psychic medium that they bring in. And this is because, and this is where I gained a lot of, like, I won't say this is where the show really caught my attention. It was like, okay, this is pretty cool. You don't really, when you've watched teams like the Ghost Adventure so much, or um not Ghost Asylum, but Ghost Nation. So the little bit of country bumpkin guys. I call them country bumpkins, but they're not really bumpkins. This is their accent, guys. And please don't think I'm calling you a bumpkin if you happen to have one of them. Very deep southern drawls. I've had a couple of beers. Please excuse me. So, anyways, so you have a bit of a power pull because Tim, as the lead investigator, and he should be, is very cautious in how he wants to handle presenting information to the family. While Sarah, the psychic medium, is just like, she throws caution to the wind. She's that friend that once she has too many shots of tequila, you want to put some duct tape over her mouth because everything starts spilling out and you don't know what to do, right? So Sarah's one of those throws caution to the wind and lets it all out. And you find that the mom has been dealing with an attachment since living in Seattle. And she hasn't been completely open on the different hobbies that she used to partake in, which in this case, obviously, we're going down the black magic route. Tim uses different techniques to get the evil entity or demon um, to present itself. And one of the tools he utilizes is psychomancy, which is where they use a bunch of mirrors and try and get the entity to present itself, while at the same time he places a TV on a continuous static loop, right? And takes video and pictures to see if a face will present itself that way as well. So the woman who is affected and Tim, so the mom and Tim, see images during this experiment, and it's pretty wild. It's definitely got my attention there. So, not something I would personally do. I am not a huge fan of staring into mirrors. It freaks me out, mainly because of the spiritual aspect of it all. But anyways, um so skipping to the last episode. The last episode ends with an exorcism on the mom to see if it helps. And it kind of does, but Tim and Sapphire feel like this isn't the end. So this is one of those things where, okay, here's our first season. Maybe we get picked up for a second season. Not saying that that was like the route they were going, but it's TV, guys. So Tim and Sapphire feel that it hasn't, this isn't the end of it. Which you compare it to the other cases like this and all of that. You're thinking, how many times do you have to go back to a house? And I don't want to use anything that the Warrens or that Ghost Adventures has used as an example, as far as exercising an area or person and how many times it has to happen. But anyways, so we all understand that it's normally not a one-time fix. If you're into watching something a little new, a little in between, if you're a huge fan like me of Ghost Brothers, but you also, you want to feel good about yourself and you want to have a good laugh on top of Ghost Brothers, but you want to see someone go over dramatic going down the demon route, and you're talking about Ghost Adventures. This is probably a good in the middle show, right? So I recommend it. It's a good watch. It really is. Um, you know, the way Tim and Sapphire handle this whole case, handle interacting with the family, interacting with other investigators that they bring in, interacting with the entities themselves and the history. I appreciate the delicacy and the time that they took to really dive into the history of the property and the areas around them, and the fact that they were very respectful towards the family and their issues, because there's underlying issues within the family. There's secrets that have to come to light, and the family, when family feels like they're being lied to by other family members, obviously it implodes on himself, and then there's a lot of trust and stuff that have to go on. So anyways, um the experiments they try throughout the show are some that I haven't really seen very much of, and it was very refreshing to see someone really take a dive and get insight and give insight on the situation at hand. I would rank this as one of my top 10 to watch for ghost investigating. When they're presented with evidence they say that says I'm a demon, they don't immediately jump to the conclusion as like Ghost Adventures would. They do go they do go through and really take the time to investigate more to see if it's more of a trickster and all of that, or maybe it's a glitch in their, their equipment or whatnot, um I would say this is more like the paranormal investigations you see from Nick Groff as opposed to Ghost Adventures, right? If you were to compare it to um, paranormal shows, this is more leaning towards if you're a fan of Katrina and Nick or Katrina and Jack Osborne, Ghost Brothers, um, Ghost Hunters, that's what you're looking at, as opposed to the over dramatized situations of ghost ghost adventures. And who else do we have that's really, I wouldn't say they're dramatized, but Ghost Nation and Ghost Asylum, they're more about Ghostbusters. Like when I watch it, I'm like, oh, they're the Ghostbusters because they're always trying to catch an entity. But that's a different story. It's a whole different series I'll get into later. Um, I like, if you're looking for a happy medium, this is one of them. Give it a try. Ghost Town Terror, pretty good. I mean, will you watch it over and over and over again? Probably not, but it is a good watch the first time. I'll say it before and I'll say it again. If you've got the time and you're looking for a new ghost hunting show, try this one. It's well worth it. Give it a try. So, everyone, this concludes uh, the episode. I hope you all enjoyed. I know I did a little bit of rambling. I miss doing the podcast. I'm glad I'm trying to get back into the swing of it. I know it was a couple weeks since my last one, which was McPike's Mansion. Um, I do appreciate everyone who has followed me on Instagram, um, engaged, on Instagram as well. I really appreciate you all. I appreciate all of the listeners out there, whether you're only listening to one episode just to kind of give me a little bit of more um, traction on Spotify, or what am I on? Anchor. Whoops, sorry, Anchor. Um, but just know, I see you. I love you. You guys listening to the episodes, I greatly appreciate it. This is more of a hobby for me. I'm not gonna say it's not gonna be something that I turn into some sort of, lucrative career. I dream big, but my dreams don't always include this kind of stuff. But I really do enjoy this, and I love talking to you all on Instagram. And if you follow me on TikTok, cool. If not, on TikTok, I'm a little bit harder to find. I don't really put the handle in here, mainly because I'm not much of a TikTok person. Like, I'm still trying to understand it, right? Like, I love scrolling through it for fucking hours, but like, ooh, my glasses. As far as posting on it, like, I'm kind of awkward on there. I do better with Instagram because Instagram reminds me of Facebook, and Facebook reminded me of MySpace. If I'm showing my millennial age, oh my god, guys, it's there. But other than that, I hope you all enjoyed this episode. Make sure you like, share, and subscribe to not only this podcast, but also my Instagram. Drop me a DM. Let me know what you want to hear about next. Let me know what you think about the episodes. And with that, I hope you all have a great weekend, and I will talk to you later. Bye. Well, that concludes this episode of the Paranormal Misfits. I hope you enjoyed this episode. And if you want to keep up with the latest and greatest, make sure you subscribe to this podcast on whichever platform you're listening to on. And give me a follow on Instagram at Paranormal Misfit. If you have your own spooky paranormal story you'd like to share or want to hear about a particular lore, place, or whatnot, please feel free to drop me a DM in Instagram. And on that note, I will catch you all later at the next episode, my ghouls.